And then select our little bar, and then we're going to press edit. No. Let's go to effect, stylize, motion tile, and of course try to output the height. No, not the height, sorry. Let's see. Not the, instead, we're going to output the width. You see that, of course, by adding the width values, it simply, of course, duplicates them throughout for us. And then, of course, the problem is that they're too spread apart, so we're going to reduce the tile width values to bring them, of course, closer, as you can see me doing. Brilliant, eh? If you zoom out, you think that these are being cut off. Don't worry, it's just After Effects showing things incorrectly. We're then going to select the main bar and then go to Edit, Duplicate, and of course move that down. Make sure, of course, it sits somewhere there. Okay. And then we need another bar. We go to Edit, Duplicate, select the rotation and to rotate it to 0 degrees so that, of course, it's straight. Press the scaling and uncheck the lock and scale it on the y-axis outwards like that, of course, and of course move it into position. Here we need to be careful because it really needs to sit at the proper place. Somewhere there. Great. And just begin to scale things down a bit so that the tips, of course, now have to be adjusted so that they can meet. Okay. Let's go to press M, select the mask. How about we try and delete it? Just delete the mask, so that we just have the layer on its own, okay? That way, of course, makes our life much easier to select and move it and scale it to exactly where we want it to be. Just select and scale again, maybe to 111%, 111, or 110. Just trying to cut off, to trim the edges at the top. I think that's a nice fit. Let's move it 1 unit down. And then at the tip there, just move this layer here just properly, like that. And that's it, basically. And of course, please save your scene. Composition, save frame as file. And of course, this is the vertigo layer, so call it vertigo. Make it a PNG file. Okay. Render. Great. Bring it into the main comp, of course. File, import file, vertigo. There we go. And of course, bring it here. Great. Select the scaling option. Scale it down. And of course, move it to the side. There we go. And it's too big for our liking, so we keep scaling it down, of course. Up to there. That's acceptable. Vertigo. Go to Edit, Clone. Edit, Duplicate. I'm saying clone like in 3D Max because I've been so busy working in Max. So, of course, this copy here moves to the other side. Press the scaling. Of course, it has to be swapped around. So, uncheck the lock. That's the one that needs to go. So, it needs to be, of course, inverted to minus 21 degrees. So that it's a perfect replica, on the other side. Okay. And, of course, move it accordingly. Perhaps for the other one, it needs to be a bit different. So, we're going to delete the vertigo layer. The second vertigo layer, that is. Let's go to the vertigo composition. And let's do this. Make a new composition there. Rename this to vertigo left. This one can be called vertigo underscore right. Okay. And of course here we delete that. We go to the vertical left, select all these layers and go to edit, copy. Great. Go to the vertical right layer and then of course edit, paste. Great. Okay. And of course in here, let's see what needs to happen again. Oh yeah. Okay. We're going to select the little bar. Yeah, we are simply going to reduce the tile with parameters to something like 20 so that a bit more spread out. Oh, sorry, something like 90. Yeah, they're a bit more spread out. Perhaps 80 is better. No. 85. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, remember, so far we've only been using, of course, After Effects only. Composition, save frame as file. And of course, call this vertical right. Save. Make it a PNG. Great. Let's bring it to the kitchen here by importing it. Vertigo right. Great. Main comp, and of course bring the vertigo right composition. The scaling has to be the same as the one on the left, so that has to be what? 21 degrees. Sorry, 21 units. Uncheck the lock, and of course for the X coordinate you're going to swap it around to minus 21. Great. And of course move it to the other side. Yeah, you see how beautifully they fit. Okay, please save your scene. Now our bars here look all good, but they need some units, of course, to read. So we're going to do the following. Let's start with the vertical left layer. Let's rename it to vertical left original. Okay, the same as this one here. Rename it to vertical right original. Okay, and then we're going to select these. Let's rename this actually to vertical underscore left. Okay, select these, then we go to layer, pre-compose, and then I believe we have to move all attributes. Oh no, sorry, each of these has to be in their own layer. Let's start with that one, the one on the right. So we go to layer, pre-compose. We're going to leave every attribute in the main comp. Okay, rename this of course to vertigo right. Okay, this one here also, layer, pre-compose, vertigo left. Leave all attributes in the main comp. Okay, let's go to them, of course, starting with the one on the left. Press the scaling tool, and we're going to scale it down, of course, at first, and we are going to go ahead and have the freedom of entering whatever junk values that we want there. Using the power of the text tool, of course. So the top bar there can be set to 290. Let's just open up the character tool, make it completely white. It's easier to read to the eye in the background, of course. And just move it to the edge like that and scale it up a bit, and of course give it a bit more room. Okay, yeah, that's good. Remember, these values can be anything you want. Okay, they don't need to be specific. Okay, the next one, we're going to select that, edit, duplicate, shift it down. Yeah, now that we can enter there something like 790. Okay, and then of course we need the values in between, so we can start there something like 340. Now in here the scaling has to be quite small compared to the rest of the things, of course, and it needs to sit somewhere there. Let's just see this. And I think even the font has to be a bit different. Window character. You can even make it Arial for that matter. Yeah, like that. Okay. And then of course we go to edit. Sorry. Edit, clone, duplicate. I keep saying clone because of how we duplicate objects in Max, but please forgive me. Control D to duplicate again. As you can see, of course, we are going to all these places here which have the bar there. Yeah, and I believe, guess what? That's the last one, of course. So that was 340. This can be 320. That can be 300. And of course, that can be 280. Great. Okay. Please save your scene. And look, as you can see, of course, we've done a pretty good job over here. And then let's go to the one on the right. Okay. In here, we're going to select the scaling tool, of course, because it needs to be inverted, and unlock the scaling lock, of course, and then we're going to invert it on the x-axis by entering there, of course, -1000. Let's go to the main comp, select the scaling and uncheck the lock, and of course turn it back to 21%. Yeah, so that it faces the right way, of course. Okay. And lock it again, back to the vertical right, and yeah, scale this thing down. And of course, we're going to enter a big unit there, like 31. And then the 31 needs to be followed by a few zeros. So it needs to be 31,000 or so. These are just random values I'm coming up with randomly. And of course, those need to be very small. You can even enter 31 million for that matter. Nobody will shoot you for that. Okay. And then, let's see. Select those two texts, edit, duplicate, and of course, shift them down. Yeah, this can just be right there. Okay. Just move this up. And yeah, just scale this down maybe to 60% or so. The same as that. Needs to come down as well. Okay. And I think let's just do this. We're going to parent those zeros to that. Okay. Because this needs to be moved up a bit. Yeah, like that. Select them again, and then we go to edit, duplicate, and of course shift them down to occupy that place there. Okay. Of course, that needs to be up there. This can be 30,000. Great. Okay. Please go ahead and save incrementally, because I'm saving incrementally so that of course we don't lose the thing. Back to the main comp. And of course, while we are there, as you can see for yourselves, yep, everything is nice and tidy. Everything has its readings. And I must say, things are looking quite sophisticated, just the way we like it, of course. Now, we're going to create a folder because this might look a bit confusing right now. Call this folder here Vertigos. Vertigos. Okay. It will keep all our vertigo layers inside. So select and drag. You see? Perfect. Okay. Don't worry, everything is still in the scene, but of course things have been more compressed, you know, to save us from chaos. The next folder we need to create is called bars, or bar lines. Okay. And of course, into them we are going to feed all our bar lines. Okay. And then of course the next one is the rings. Okay. And of course to them we are going to feed each of these ring compositions in there. You see that? Of course now things are looking nice and tidy, because now we're going to create a new composition. For the width, well, let's leave it at 1500. For the height, how about 400? Okay. Yeah, that should do. Perhaps even the width is too big, so let's just change the composition settings for the width. Make it 1200. Okay. Now in here we need to create some arrows, so we're going to rename this composition, of course, to arrow A, because we need two kinds of arrows. Layer, new solid. It's going to be an arrow. Okay. We're going to create a rectangular mask, so simply double click. As you can see, of course, by double clicking it gives us a mask. Now we need to work on this, of course, so we're going to press we're going to hold down the mouse and then select add vertex tool and click on there, on the plus there. Yeah, that will enable us to add a vertex. And also, let's see, yeah, we are then going to select the mask, pick the mask's points there. Sorry. Yeah, actually select the layer and then we're going to select, damn it. My goodness, it's going to prove more difficult than I thought. Okay, let's do the following. We're going to select the mask, change it to that option, select the moving tool. Not like that. Because the thing is, we need to manipulate the mask's point. Yeah, so click on the layer and then come to the mask points there. Yeah, and of course begin to drag them backwards, the same as those over there, of course. Okay, yeah, and of course move them so that they look more or less like an arrow. Okay, great. And then of course they need to be given some depth, but first let's see, we're going to go to Effects, Generate Stroke, and of course increase the brush size, please. You can see of course what it does. Great. Of course it must do that to all the masks. Just select the scaling tool and scale it down a bit. Yeah, you can see of course what we are dealing with. Okay, let me just go to edit, undo. Let's just see. Yeah, okay, we're then going to move the mask point back into the structure. You see that by moving them of course down and inside. Okay, great. You see that? That is really fantastic. Remember, the arrow's size can just be adjusted by dragging the brush size over there. Okay, brilliant. Back to the main comp. Now, let me show you something fancy. We can now drag our arrow into the composition. And of course, you can see how nice it looks. If you go back to our arrow composition, let's just see, when you turn on the transparency option, you can see of course the inside is still visible, or it's still darkened. So we're going to press to bring up the mask settings. Remember, right now the option of the mask is set to add. Okay, now we have to change that to subtract. Of course, as you can see now, the inside is left open, yet the outside is still darkened. So select the mask and then we go to edit, duplicate, so that of course we have a secondary mask. Now this mask here, we're going to turn on the inverted option. You see that? So it's the same mask but with different options. Okay, so that of course one clears out the inside, the other clears out the outside. Back to the main comp. Of course, as you can see now, our arrow has left everything alone. And of course it's too big, so scale it nicely down. And of course, position it where it ought to be. Yeah, so it's gonna be reading the units there. Just uncheck the lock for now and then just see if we can make it a bit wider. Yeah, and then lock it again. And a mass, of course, is looking very great. Let's try and make this area a bit fancy by going to the main composition. By going to the arrow composition, and we're going to enter a nice simple text there, like a T, capital letters T. Yeah. Select the rotation tool and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Yeah, and then select the scaling tool and scale it up. This is just for fancy additional purposes. nothing in particular. Back to the main comp. Of course, it's now hiding the readings. Each of these has to be closed because we're no longer accessing them, and of course it's overcrowding our scene. I mean, you can imagine what a nightmare it must be if you're working on it on a small monitor. So that's why we're closing each of these. Okay, back to the arrow. And rotation again, it has to be rotated the other way to 270 degrees. It can stand there. Main comp. Aha, you can see, of course, now it's nicely sitting there. Okay, and then we're going to drag this, of course, into a new composition. Delete that, rename that to arrow B. Back to arrow A, and of course select all that, edit, copy, come to that one, edit, paste. Great. Now this one here, we're going to give it different readings. And firstly, we're going to swap it around. So select the scaling. We're going to swap it around on the y-axis. On the x-axis, so we're going to enter -100 for the x-axis. For the scaling, of course, we'll swap it around. And we don't want the T anymore. Instead, we're going to double click and enter this open bracket here. You see that? You can find it anywhere on your keyboard. Okay, that comes there. And press the scaling. It needs to be scaled up a bit because it needs to sit at the base here. Unlock the scaling, of course, and then we're going to adjust them individually. See that? Okay. Select, edit, duplicate. Select the rotation option, and this needs to be rotated, of course, to 90 degrees, and it needs to come there to sit, of course, on the other end. Back to the main comp, and of course we're going to bring arrow B. The scale needs to be the same as the other one, so enter the 8%. And unlock and just make it a bit bigger in that axis. That's fine. And unlock again, of course. And of course we have to send it to where it belongs, somewhere there. That will mean, unfortunately, that the vertigo will have to be shifted and moved to this side, while this one, of course, can then occupy that space. It's reading something, so scale it a bit down, maybe to 6% or so, like that. Okay, now of course the arrow B must be parented to the vertigo on the right. Okay, while the arrow A must be, of course, parented to the vertigo on the left. That only makes sense. Okay, great. So that now if we move the vertigo on the left, of course it follows it nicely. And then our rings, select the primary ring, select the scaling tool, just scale it down a bit. Okay, great. As you can see, of course, we've come a long way only using After Effects and its power. The arrow B here, just move it a bit there. Its job is to display the readings after all. Same as the radio. Same as that one. Okay, great. I must say this looks fancy already on its own, The power of After Effects, just using its standard tools, is quite brilliant. And now we're going to work on those additional elements that just add life to our scene or credibility to our scene. Drag this arrow A here to a new composition like that. And of course in here we're going to delete that. Rename this to arrow pointed. Okay, back to arrow A, and of course we're going to select these, go to edit, copy, go to arrow pointed, edit, paste, edit, copy, click inside, edit, It doesn't want to paste. I wonder why. Select that, edit, copy, go to the pointed layer there, edit, paste. Great. Okay, and then we're going to press to bring up the masks, of course. Double click, and of course we have to drag this mask like that because it's just a pointed arrow. Or we can do this, edit, undo. So let's see what can be done instead is the following. Select the delete vertex tool, and then we're going to come here and delete that vertex over there and there. Same as with that mask, delete that and that. Great. Now of course we have this perfect triangle, of course. Okay, and then we're going to go to composition settings, because this needs to be very small now. So the width can be now 600. Okay, select the arrow and of course begin to bring it where it ought to be. Okay, let's see, try rotating it so that it's a bit straight. Yeah, like that. Okay, composition settings again, it needs to be smaller than this, so 400. Yeah, we're almost there. Shift and move this. Composition settings again, I believe 300. No, 350. Yeah, that's what we need to aim for. Yeah, that's about it. Let's go back to the main comp and of course bring our arrow pointed here into the scene. Select the scaling tool, and of course this needs to be scaled way down and moved, of course, to indicate the direction. They are really small. Okay, nothing too big. Okay, with it we're going to go to edit, duplicate. Let's just rename this to arrow pointed left, and that of course to arrow pointed right. Press the scaling, unlock the scale, and of course we're going to swap it around on the x-axis to duplicate it like that. Lock the scale, and of course move it all the way to the other side of the world like that. So now of course you can see it's sitting there. Just give it a safer distance. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay. And of course now that entire family can come under the arrows folder. There we go. Great. Up next we're going to create a new composition which goes by 1500 by 1500. Call this lock let's see, lock on. Now in here we're going to create some nice masks, and they just need to be made up of the letter L. So we're going to enter the text, caps lock on, and enter L. Okay, and I'm about to show you something interesting that it's actually help us do. It will help us do the following. Select the L and scale it up. This will be responsible for the corners. You see that? That's why of course we need them. So we're trying to cut off some of its edges there and scale it just a bit bigger. Yeah, I think that will do. And move it to cut off its edge a bit more. Okay, edit, duplicate, scaling, move this upwards, of course. Scaling, and unlock the scale, and let's see this. Perhaps not the scale. No, it is the scale. Let's see which one needs to be adjusted. Yeah, the y-axis. How about you enter -759? There we go. So now of course we inverted it to fit our requirements. Perfect. Next we select these two, go to edit, duplicate, this one and that one. Of course we shift and drag them to the other side. Okay, just move this up, scale, unlock the scale, and of course this one here we have to swipe it around on the x-axis like that. That one there also on the x-axis, of course. Unlock the scale, it's minus, there we go. Turn them back on, and of course move these guys here to the corners like that. Great. Okay, back to the main composition, and of course drag it on top here. It's too big, don't worry, so we're going to scale it down. Aha, can you see? Of course the beautiful position occupies there. It will be the little square to act as a lock on. This is stunning, eh? And of course for now it needs to be a bit smaller than what it is right now, like that. Okay, great. Please bear in mind it has to be really right in the middle of the scene. Okay, and of course, oh no, it's fine. Okay, it's fine the way it is. And then we need a little circle, sorry, a little square. And in here all we have to do is create a solid. So layer, new solid, make it a comp size. Okay. And then let's see, let's go to the lock on, sorry, to the main comp, and bring the square in, scaling, and scale it down. And then just turn on the transparency option. You can see, of course, it's the little square there in the middle of the scene. Let's put it there. Press T for opacity. You can see, of course, what it is. Okay, and then we're going to make a copy of the lock-on composition. Rename this to target. Let's go to the lock-on composition, and of course, no, let's just go to the target composition. And in here we're going to create our target object, and this really just needs to be let's see, yeah, we're going to create, first let's create a new solid. Sorry, layer, new solid, make it white in color. Okay, and then we're going to scale it down to start with. And then Control D to duplicate, rotate it to 90 degrees like that. Select the lock-on layers behind them and then hit delete. Just like that. Of course we have our target, and then of course let's go to the main comp and drag the target composition there, and of course scale it down. You can see, of course, now it's sitting nicely in the middle there. See that? Although it needs to be made a bit smaller, maybe 2% or so. Yeah.